Aquarius. This feels like some of the most avoidant energy while also feeling like it's calling for a message. So congratulations, you've given me grief this week. There's always one, right? So the first message that came through was that there has been a mistranslation in obviously like a metaphorical sense, but there's been a discrepancy between what was said and what was heard. And we're going to dive into that in the tarot. But we had a couple of other things come through. So first of all, as soon as I had this understanding that there was a mistranslation and like, oh, I'm really good in that area, like, that's great. I'll be happy to dive into this for Aquarius. It was like immediate block. So I'm not sure if you are the person who was doing the saying or you were the person who was doing the hearing. This might end up being a reading where you want to watch it back again and kind of flip roles. So when I do the tarot, it will be, like what was said versus what was heard, and then you can apply the roles as you need to. But then I did get someone is running from Saturn as consequence. So not consequence like punishment, just like the inevitable conclusion to actions, right? Like it's a cause and effect thing. And I heard very clearly like what we do is consequential. And I did think that was kind of interesting because there's a lot of focus on what is said, but this was very specifically like what we do is consequential. So first things first, let's get some business out of the way. Welcome to my channel. My name is Abby. I'm the Oddest Oracle. I believe that everything that happens during the reading is a part of the reading. You get to decide what is true for you and what isn't. Like there's no reason for activation here. And I do believe that regardless of where you have Aquarius in your chart, you can apply this message for some area of your life. So for example, if you have Aquarius in the 10th house, this may apply to a professional conversation at work. So we will see how this pans out. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to get some charms out. I just like the resistance here. It's so interesting because, so for me, like if there's a resistance in energy, to me, that's usually a sign not to push too hard, right? Like there's a reasonable amount of, okay, are you sure, without pushing boundaries. And so it was this really like push-pull energy of like, no, I there's a reading that needs to be said, and then like a, no, don't do it. But it's, I love reading tarot, so I can tell that this is something about like, let's talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. No, wait, let's talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. Or a lot of like going back and forth type of energy. So this is pretty interesting. It's almost giving like angsty, grumpy teenager, like, which is fine. But I feel led to do this reading. If it doesn't pan out, I just don't even have to post this video. That's the way technology works. So we're going to give it a shot, okay, Aquarius? I assume that if you're here and this is resonating with you, there is a part of you that wants to have something brought to the surface. But you're Aquarius. And also, like, some things can feel difficult to look at. I'm really getting an energy of like, maybe you said something that was misunderstood or were the mouth in this example, right? As opposed to the ear. So we have trust, love, dream, hope in a circle. Okay. We have a camel. Camels can travel long distances without needing to like, right? Like they store water. So there may be, some kind of an emotional bank here built for times of emotional dryness. Interesting. I'll leave that for now. She believed she could, so she did and will. We have a heart with a peace sign. We have a treble clef. We have the word brave. We have a snowflake. It's very wintry. We have a key. We have a butterfly. We have a very like saucy cat. She's like, she's got a pose going on there, huh? I like that I called her a she. And then we have a heart with an arrow through it that says love. This could be relational, like romantic in nature. And then we have the Eiffel Tower. I think the Eiffel Tower came out for another sign this month. Okay, so I have a spread here, and we'll get into that in just a second. I am going to pull some oracle cards. These are the Elemental Alchemist Oracle deck, and I just got them. I've been working through the book and learning about the authors and stuff. It's pretty interesting. So right now we're just trying to get a bead on where are you at, Aquarius? How you feeling? How you feeling? Let's slow down. How you feeling? Having a hard time? Frustrated about something? Maybe a stop and start or a push-pull or decision maybe, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you're the one who heard something and you made a decision about it, right? All right, Spirit, can I get a card for Aquarius, please? Just one? Thank you. Goddess of the East. Okay. Oh, I want to read this. Let me grab the book, Aquarius. Bear with me. Goddess of the East. Because I'm still learning the deck. I want to make sure I read it and do it justice, okay? Goddess of the East. Oh, I don't know all the order. Oh, air. Okay. Ooh, air. Okay, for Aquarius. Okay. Goddess of the East. Okay. It is only when we walk in our truth that we herald a new beginning, like how the sun rises at the beginning of each day. Something new will arrive, and you should welcome it courageously, without fear, anxiety, or doubt. Be brave, right? She believed she could, so she did. That's right, Aquarius. Air carries the intellect needed to survive whatever is thrown your way. Air holds space for seeking prosperity and welcoming knowledge to build new, innovative ideas. Oya is the Orisha of the winds and storms. She comes with chaotic and destructive change, but it is necessary for new growth. Understand that what she destroys, you no longer need. If you had to list the things you love, how long would it take for you to list yourself? Who are you when you are bare? What have you outgrown that you are continuing to wear? Take action. Let go of any and all that is preventing you from shedding your skin. Try something new. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Also, as a note, I understand that Orishas can be are part of a culture. I value the deck. I like to support Black artists, and so I'm going to use it and learn it and do it justice, but I just want to make sure that I'm explaining that I'm not claiming something that doesn't belong to me, okay? And that felt important to say very quickly. So just respect and inclusivity, right? Okay. So I want to get another, I want to get one more. Can we get another message for this Goddess of the East? This feeling of trying something new, needing to be brave. I will say trying something new was a pretty strong message in Gemini's reading. So there's, and maybe actually I think in Libras too. So I think this is maybe a theme for air signs right now, right? It's not personal, okay? There's something about this resistance to, oh, maybe you're fixed air. So maybe you don't want to try something new. Maybe there's a thought form or a structure that you're not really ready to pick at yet. Or maybe you are, because again, this is a message coming. This is very interesting, Aquarius. It's almost frustrating, and at the same time is so relatable and understandable. And to me, it usually precedes like significant change and shifts, like in a positive way, like growth, right? Growth in the middle of winter. Snowflake. Pursuit of absolution will lead you to the grave. All right, well, I think we've got a pretty good idea here. All right, so for this spread, we have the it's called Lips to Ears. It will be posted on my Instagram if you're interested in trying the spread for yourself. But we're going to get 7 cards, and then I may do one clarifier, but I think 7 cards is pretty hefty. So it's basically we'll work through it a piece at a time, okay? All right, Spirit. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about this conversation. What was said versus what was heard. And then, okay, I had the Empress pop out, but I'm going to keep shuffling because I'd like to finish. What was said versus what was heard. What was said, justice. Okay, I'm getting, I'm going to keep that. No, I'm not. Am I, Spirit? No, we're going to keep shuffling. We're going to finish. What was said, what was heard, and what is of consequence or responsibility. I think there's an interesting note here about impact versus intent, right? Intent doesn't have to be an excuse. It can be context. Doesn't mean it has to outweigh impact either. There's like validity in both. And I think, yeah. So maybe this is not a specific conversation for you, Aquarius, but something that's more patterned for you. Maybe it's something that has occurred for you frequently and you just kind of keep circling around it like, I cannot figure out why this keeps happening. That's a really good sign too. There's like pattern recognition there. It's the, for me personally, and I've seen it in other people too, it's like that's the prompting for the change when you kind of can't ignore the thing anymore. All right, we're ready. Thank you, Spirit. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to put 7 right up here. I'm going to adjust these a little bit so we can have some space. Okay, so we're going to start with what was said over here on this side. We'll move to what was heard, and then we'll see here. This is Saturn apparently is going to be a thing in my life at this point in time, which is interesting. I have passed my Saturn return, but Saturn is just everywhere in my life right now, talking to me all the time. I'm listening. All right. The literal message of what was said. So this is just the words, okay? We have the 3 of Pentacles. Well, I'm really focusing on the artwork. Like, so the 3 of Pentacles, like at its most basic, I guess, is a teamwork situation. But I'm really looking at this artwork, or teamwork, but it's difficulty. It can require teamwork. Sorry. That's an interesting, look, that's an interesting mistranslation. Okay. It's a difficulty. I'm actually picturing another card from another deck that is a mountain with 3 pentacles, right? There's something about the triangle being the most structurally sound shape or something. But that's neither here nor there. Let's focus. I'm paying attention to the artwork in this card. This guy is sitting cross-legged, alone, staring at a brick wall. So maybe... So the message, the words could have been difficult, were difficult, I'm hearing. The words were difficult to say. And there's this feeling of talking to a brick wall. Like, is any of this getting through to you? Okay. The breath. So this is the emotional charge, the emotional charge behind the difficult thing to say. King of Pentacles, seeking stability. It's an insecurity almost, like, or grasping for tangibility. The swallowed, that which went unsaid or was avoided verbally. King of Cups in reverse. Okay. So the King of Cups in this deck is not kind of the typical stoic King of Cups we see frequently, but he is stable. He's tired. He's holding his union carefully. He's balancing the past on his head. In reverse, this is somebody who is not, I'm hearing, doesn't treasure this, whatever this Two of Cups would be. All the cups are spilling out, and that sort of thing. But look at what's interesting is that the emotional charge was this kind of slow building energy. This, we hear the King of Pentacles is stable, and in this deck too, he's very peaceful. I like that his eyes are closed because it points to a vulnerability that only comes from true authority. So this was what was avoided. This feeling of being unstable, of not knowing, of not feeling, no, hold on. It is definitely emotional instability, which would have been belied by this very kind of careful, moderated tone, saying a difficult thing. But here's the other interesting thing. We have these two court cards over here and this kind of minor arcana, lower minor arcana, not lower in value, but lower in progress. So there was a lot more depth behind what was said than what was actually said. I'm noticing, Aquarius, that I want to take time and be slow and really allow things to come in. Again, it's about not pulling something that is already giving you resistance. So I do believe that, if this is your energy, that this is you. This is you carefully crafting. This is very Aquarian too. It feels a little slower than Aquarius, but I think that, not intellectually, but like cerebrally, like not overthinking in a way that Aquarius can be known for, especially when it's complex. So this is making me feel like this is a maturity in you and an emotional depth, because what was swallowed were these like kind of upsetting feelings. Calm, right? Taking a beat, as I'm kind of trying to do during this message, and almost simplifying a pretty complex subject. Okay? So that's what we have for what was said. This is like the intent in a way, okay? Now let's move over to what was heard and what the impact was. So the message, this is the meaning that landed. Five of Pentacles, shame, okay? Neither is right or wrong, but what was communicated was a difficulty, and what was received was a shame, a feeling of shame, or the message that even though that wasn't the intent, that's what was received, okay? The echo. What is the prior experience distorting the sound, right? If you're sending a Three of Pentacles and they're receiving a Five, what's the prior experience that's shaping the way that they're hearing that? Page of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. Okay, and the filled in. What was the inner conclusion for the ears of this reading? Knight of Cups. Here's what I find interesting, Aquarius. There's a match here in terms of suit, right? We have Pentacles, 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 Cups, Cups. But what was internalized was a Knight of Cups in reverse. So the stoicism that was kind of belying the deep inner emotional turmoil worked, right? It did alter the message in translation, and there's a question of worth here. Obviously, we also have shame. There's a question of worth, and then really, again, more tumultuous emotions. Okay, and then number 7 here, excuse the noise, but confirmation, right? The consequence. What is the shared responsibility? So I want to clarify this in talking to you about it before we flip the card over and look and kind of take this message in totality. the shared responsibility is not action that needs to be taken. I'm not going to tell you how to solve the problem, because I believe you are intelligent and intuitive and capable of making decisions for your own life, and I hope you believe that too. The shared responsibility is kind of like the void space where where everything gets swirled around. It's what part of this is owned by both people. So it will probably feel very vague, because if there's this type of, you know, mistranslation, then the lesson for each is going to be different because the perspectives are so different. And I just really felt guided to lay that out really quick. Okay, so card number 7, the consequence, the shared responsibility, is the 7 of Pentacles. This is interesting. Okay. Aquarius, let's get some, I do want to clarify. I wasn't sure if that's something I was going to do with this reading at first, but I do want to lay out one more layer with a different deck. So before we do that, I will say that right now my suspicion is, it's not a bad suspicion. My suspicion is that the shared responsibility is some amount of reflection, right? This isn't, I mean, let me be very frank. This is a miscommunication, and because it involves shame on the part of the person who is receiving the message, that can hit pretty deep. But all in all, this, look at the symmetry in the energy here. I think maybe this feels like a bigger deal, not because this shame is unimportant, or because this question of worth and emotion over here is unimportant. That's not at all. I think it's because we're also in Pentacles, there is form for repair, right? We have a rupture and a repair, and this is how we actually like build trust in relationship to one another. Again, regardless of whether this is romantic or professional, right? The 7 of Pentacles, especially in this deck, but kind of generally in all the decks I own so far, is a reflection of work. And it can also be, how do I want to say this? Notice the background is gray. It's kind of like, I see, it's like climbing a mountain. Here we go with 3 of Pentacles, right? Climbing a mountain and thinking, surely I must be halfway up this mountain. And then you turn back and you are not halfway up the mountain, right? Like you get some perspective and a vantage point and you're like, oh crap, right? Because what comes after the 7 of Pentacles is the 8 of Pentacles. This is very detail oriented, focused, intent, hard work. I think this feels less kind of scary, especially if we're talking about a romantic relationship or a very close personal relationship, is that the 7 of Pentacles is not nothing, right? Because there is a matter of perspective. Sure, you think surely I should be halfway up this mountain, or, you know, choose your metaphor, and you turn back and there's still work to do, and that's, you know, can be disheartening. But there is not a lack of progress. It's almost like a manage your expectations type of thing. So when I'm seeing this in the shared responsibility position for this reading, my initial instinct, and I will clarify because I'd like to drill down just a little bit more, but my initial instinct is, yes, get some perspective and a vantage point, but also like do have some appreciation for the work that's been done. My suspicion is that if this is where we're at this time, because again, this relationship does feel like it has either significance, intensity, or longevity to it. So it feels important, but it seems like something that can be communicated. As I said, there is a symmetry here in elements that's really, or in suits, that's really sticking out to me. All right, let's go ahead and just get clarifiers for Aquarius for this reading, please, Spirit. Okay, thank you. 3 of Pentacles, Page of Cups. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Can I get one more? Okay. I am being told not to use this deck or not to lay any more cards out. So let me take a second to get it together. This message may be complete. This may be what is required of me and you, Aquarius, which is kind of funny to me. All right, should I pull a message card, Spirit? Should I add anything to this reading? We're gonna go ahead and pull a message. We'll see if one comes out, okay? Spirit, do we have any closing messages for Aquarius? I'm sorry that's so abrupt, Aquarius, but it feels like what's been said is what was needed to be heard. Interesting. Okay, thank you, Spirit. I did get two out here. The best victory is a silent one. Interesting. It kind of fits with the energy of like, okay, I got what I needed. Goodbye. And then this does feel important to note. Enthusiastic consent is everything, which is close the message. All right, Aquarius, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, regardless of how long or short you did share that energy with me. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.